Photosynthesis is about how the energy of the sun is transformed into energy that organisms can actually use. The simple equation here is that 6 molecules of carbon dioxide are combined with 6 molecules of water in the presence of sunlight and become 1 molecule of glucose or simple sugar and 6 molecules of oxygen. Essentially, what's going on here is through the energy of sunlight, plants are able to transform the carbon dioxide waste product of organisms breathing out, doing cellular respiration, with water to become that energy storing molecule glucose. This is how all the energy that's a part of our ecosystem gets into the ecosystem. The only exception to this is, of course, chemosynthesis, where in rare cases, usually at the bottom of the ocean or in deep caves, chemical energy is used. From the volcanic vents, the sulfur compounds are changed in such a way that it releases energy and allows the creation of glucose. Starting from this concept, we need to understand the role of photosynthesis in our ecosystem. It goes back to the concept of being an autotroph. An autotroph, self-troph feeder, a self-feeding organism. Basically what it does is from sunlight and the elements in the air, it creates this chemical energy stored in glucose. They use some of it for their own cellular respiration, for building their tissues and performing their life processes, but the majority of it gets stored away as this chemical energy that then can be used by other organisms. Animals that eat plants show up, eat the plants, get that stored glucose within them into themselves, thus taking the energy of the sun transformed into chemical energy into their bodies and using it to run their bodies, to perform the operations of individual cells and the whole animal. Other animals eat those that have already eaten the plants, and in that way get their energy. The thing is that at the end of the day, all organisms owe their ability to do anything in existence to the energy of the sun. The sunlight being taken by the autotrophs turned into usable energy for the autotrophs themselves and anything that eats them. So we've got our out on the savanna there, we have a bush with leaves on it. The leaves in the bush are performing photosynthesis. Glucose is being stored up in the leaves. The zebra comes along, eats the leaves. The glucose in the leaves is transferred into the body of the zebra. The zebra then uses that glucose to perform cellular respiration, and the energy builds up the cells within the zebra. The energy stored in those cells is then used when a lion comes and kills the zebra and eats it. When it eats it, it gets that stored energy in its tissues that originally came from the stored energy in the plant that originally came from the sun. So all creatures in all ecosystems, they come back to this idea of getting their energy from the autotrophs that primarily through the act of photosynthesis end up making the food that makes everything else possible to exist. Key to this is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is found in chloroplasts. It comes in 3 main types. There's a chlorophyll A, a chlorophyll B, and something called a carotenoid. At the end of the day, what all of them do is they absorb light from the sun. And just as when you see a rainbow, you see a spectrum of different colors of light. Well, these different chemicals, they absorb different colors of light a little bit better than they do other colors. And one of the reasons that oftentimes plants are different shades of green or even shades moving into purple or blue or yellow or orange has to do with what kinds of light it is able to best absorb. So the coloration of the plant relates directly to the idea of being able to absorb light from other wavelengths in order to perform the action of photosynthesis.